Welcome back to another video with me, GDUBMX. Today we're going to touch on some tips to help you guys with your racing. The aim of this video is to make you smoother, more consistent, and above all, a safer rider. So I've put together 3 key points to help you improve and have a better online experience while racing. So without further delay, let's jump straight into it. Tip number 1, offline mode. This is simple, okay? So you want to get better at racing, let's go offline, okay? No one else to distract, no one else to hit you. You're not there to get in people's way. Okay, so I recommend start picking up your bike. 250F is a great bike to get comfortable on. Any type of brand, any one you want, just as long as it's a nice manageable power. 250Fs, in my opinion, are perfect for that. Don't play around with the settings, okay? We're not chasing suspension settings or anything like that. Just pick a bike and we're going to ride it stock. So all we're going to do is practice, and just keep practicing and getting comfortable on the bike, understanding how the bike works, how the bike brakes, how the bike accelerates, how it unsettles, things like that. So I recommend practicing the most popular tracks, the ones you see generally cycling through, you know, like Unadilla, Redbud, yeah, there's loads. I recommend disabling the Ghost Rider and choosing a track that you feel most comfortable with, and then progressively start riding your least favorite track. So start off on your favorite track and then progressively go to your worst track. So at the end of your training session per se, you want to be riding the track you hate the most. So if you hate riding Lommel, that's the track you want to ride last, and hopefully by that time we would have gained enough experience and enough comfort and bike control to start to appreciate the tracks that you hate. You will learn to love them, because it's the difficulty that makes them tough, and once you start to master that difficulty, it increases your skill level so much that when you go to a lot easier tracks, you find yourself being a lot faster because you can handle way more than you ever used to. Right, so let's start by resetting any deformation which is currently set. I recommend completing 10 clean laps in a row. So the aim here is try to be smooth with your inputs. You want to brake early. I recommend picking out objects on the side of the track as visual reminders of where to brake. We want to get on the gas smooth and continue to be smooth with your inputs. So try and ride the safest and smoothest lines each lap. Maintain a consistent time with each lap. Remember, we're not trying to set records here. We are just focusing on hitting the same line and being smooth. Another key tip I can give you guys while completing your lap is to always ride the same each lap. So don't try and whip and scrub over every jump, because this will only distract you from the task, which is being smooth and consistent. So some key takeaways from tip number 1 is ride your own pace, be consistent, don't panic and rush and try and set records. We want to stay smooth, avoid collisions, and just be consistent. Right, moving on to tip number 2, which is online mode and start technique. So now we're comfortable and have a steady, comfortable pace around the track, it's time to practice our starts, ready for the big race. Remember, the race is usually won by the most consistent rider and not in the first corner. So nobody likes a guy who tries to grab a whole shot and takes out a bunch of riders because he doesn't know how to complete a start. I recommend before you do anything on the server, go ahead and select your gate before anyone even mentions it or throws up a poll. Go ahead, select your gate before a race is even thought about. That way you've got yourself a good gate ready for the race. I recommend selecting a gate somewhere in the middle, as these often have a good line to the first turn. This should set you up nicely for the rest of the race, hopefully, if you get a good jump. So I recommend doing several dummy starts to get used to the feeling of a race start. I always run a manual transmission and start in 2nd gear or even 3rd when I'm on a 450. Depends what bike you're on and depends what sort of gear ratio you run. So the start technique, you want to hold the clutch in, quarter to half throttle, select your gear, lean forward, then release your clutch. As you let go of the clutch, gently apply more throttle whilst being mindful of the front end coming up. So to mitigate the problem of the bike pulling a wheelie, you tap the clutch. You could maybe double tap it. It depends how hard you're going on the throttle, but if you're generally smooth on the gas, your front end shouldn't even come up. There is a knack to it and you will get it, but it takes time. Not everyone can do starts no matter how hard they try. So make sure you hit the clutch and not the brake. You don't want to kill your power. Shift up a gear before you even reach max RPMs, and I recommend getting to 4th gear as quick as possible without losing power. So what I mean by without losing power is if you start to hit your peak RPMs, the bike will drop off. You want to kind of stay in the meat of the power, so as you're getting near the max RPMs, change up so you've got enough momentum to carry you forward with your next gear. But by the time you're in 4th gear and you're in the meat of that power, everyone else is just getting in 3rd because they've been so focused on red lining in 2nd gear coming out the gate, just down the start straight, but you're already 2 gears ahead of them and just pulling. You may notice in the streams, more often than not, I get a really good start or even get the whole shot. That's because I'm always a gear up before everyone else. But like I said, it's a technique that you need to get used to, and you will get it. Right, so now that we're flying down the start straight, we want to be sure to focus on that first turn and be smooth with your line coming in. You want a nice smooth entry to the apex and to get away from the pack cleanly. So some key takeaways from tip number 2. Focus on being smooth and safe. This always applies in every tip. Don't try to win the race at the first turn. If you don't get a good jump out the gate, then focus on staying out of trouble and brake early to avoid that first turn pile-up. Nothing worse than a guy who is fast out the gate but takes everyone out because he doesn't respect the other racers and doesn't know how to be smart with his racecraft. Okay, so that leads me to my last tip. So tip number 3, don't ride over your head and be okay with your skill level. This one's fairly straightforward. We all have a pace which we can comfortably ride at to make consistent laps. Some of us win, some of us make podiums, some of us are top 10, and some of us are just back of the pack guys, and that's how it is. Know your place on the track and just be okay with it. The sooner you understand that, the better you will ride over time. So if you are clearly a slower rider which gets bad starts and can't get inside the top 10, then you want to focus on being smoother and practice more offline on your bike control and your inputs, and just, like I said, being consistent and smooth. So remembering to stay smooth and clean, that's always a must. The last thing you should be doing is trying to push for wins, taking people and yourself out, or just generally being an idiot when you're getting lapped. Okay, ride your pace, ride your lines, be smooth and consistent, and you'll gain respect from the leaders and your reputation will build as a clean and safe rider. Eventually your pace will start to increase and you'll be working your way to the front. Remember, it's better to be a slower guy that has consistent clean laps than a one lap wonder guy who can post a fast lap time but 8 out of the 10 laps crashes. You know, it's just the way it is. Even in car racing, it's the most consistent guys that win. You know, somebody that can post a lap time that's 2 seconds faster than everyone else, but they can't even keep it on 2 wheels for the whole race. Well, that's not going to get you wins. So a little tip if you're being flagged, you know, so if you're lapped, so if you're seeing a blue flag, then be sure to stay in your line and let the leaders pass you. Remember, the fast guys will get around you clean and safe and respect you for making it easy for them. So don't go getting in people's way. You know, if you see the blue flag, just keep riding your line. Don't get all sketchy and erratic and start cross jumping and things like that. Just do your line. The leaders will get past you. So some key takeaways from tip number 3 is be clean, smooth and safe. Don't be an idiot, okay? If you get a bad start, don't start spamming the chat with insults and trying to get people to restart the race, or just start trying to take people out and get in people's way. Okay, so these are just some of the basic fundamentals of racing motocross that are essential for a successful race in my eyes. Okay, I don't, you know, I myself do enjoy a win, but they come few and far between. I often find myself in a good mid-pack battle where we are usually fighting for 6th or 7th place with clean racers who respect the rules and appreciate a consistent rider. So with time and lots of practice, you guys can apply these tips, grab a whole shot, check out and win. I hope this helps some of you guys out there, and please let me know in the comments if you would like more of this kind of stuff. As always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the track.